I know, for years we've all been lying awake at night, searching for the answer to that one age-old question. What would happen if we launched Jordan Peterson to the depth of the ocean? Philosophers and scientists alike didn't come to a final conclusion, but surmised that the most likely outcome was that humankind would be overtaken by a sentient race of shellfish that would force us to clean our rooms till the end of time. All these alleged professionals ignored, however, that 2K and the game dev team around Ken Levine have already simulated a likelier and frankly way more awesome scenario over a decade ago. And so I took a deep breath and put on my scuba suit one more time to find out why everybody and their mother should have played Bioshock was one of the first gaming milestones that I witnessed firsthand. I played its excellent demo prior to release, and once released, completed it multiple times in various difficulties and playstyles, so that for the last 16 years it has been living rent-free in my head as a benchmark most games would fail to live up to. There are two things in particular that Bioshock, in my opinion, perfected and only few games since were able to grasp. More on that later. Many would argue that Bioshock's fame mainly arose from its overall creepy atmosphere and art design, but they would ignore the fact that every single facet of Bioshock's game design is tempered towards one single goal: to let the player, without inhibition, experience an isolated utopia that's fallen into ruin. To give them free reign in a city that was torn down by freedom itself, only to discover that the only person that wasn't truly free was the player themselves. Essentially it went down like this. That is why Bioshock's plot and narrative are categorically linear. There are no choices but one that would alter them, no menus or spreadsheets that would distract from what's in front of you. Only a vast array of superhuman abilities to acquire that would warp your humanity to its limit and beyond, turning every new area into a semi-open playground to first conquer and then experiment with. The rule of awesome is at play here, and having all these wacky and creative superpowers at my disposal never ceases to put a smile on my face. In that, Bioshock and its sequels would also mark the pinnacle of the impact physics could have on a player's game style. Telekinesis, conduction of electricity, thermodynamics, all abilities and phenomena that fascinated game designers in the 2000s, but were almost collectively shunned not long after. I'm glad the Bioshock team didn't get that memo.
Whoever said this obviously has no idea about the physical limitations of life underwater. Well, might as well throw these in the fire.
The memo they did get, though, was that you can't have a game without a mascot. But bald guy with anger issues and Italian plumber were already taken, even though a plumber might have been all too fitting with all the piping we have to install.
How's it coming?
I almost got it. All right. I think I got it. It's just a loose pipe.
So how about we take one of the little girls from The Shining and put her on top of an astronaut, crossed with a bear, crossed with a power drill. Enter the Big Daddy. The most iconic adversaries in gaming, Mr. Bubbles and the Little Sister's introduction makes unmistakably clear to the player,
we're not in Kansas anymore.
Mr. Bubbles?
And you're trifling with powers you cannot comprehend. The subsequent implementation as a mini-boss is done flawlessly, with the Big Daddy acting as a terrifying challenge to overcome and the Little Sister as a piggy bank that needs to be cracked wide open to receive the all-important Atom, XP, we need to upgrade our superpowers. The pair's AI and relationship and how it translated into gameplay was impressive back in the day and still holds up beautifully. All the more impressive once you learn how comparatively little time and resources the Bioshock team actually had at their disposal to make it work. Not to say that Bioshock is without its flaws. After a certain pivotal point in its plot, both narrative and level design experience a notable dip in quality, most likely because of the aforementioned time constraints. And from a purely FPS-oriented point of view, combat is quite clunky and you die a lot. In return, Bioshock does something extraordinary and offers an elegant selection of firearms, which I find to this day to be a shining example of how to not overclutter a player with, say, 3 different guns, shotguns, or rifles. No, Bioshock's 7 distinct weapons, each with their own unique upgrades, are the perfect solution. Plus a Pokemon Snap minigame. What more do you want?
That's one.
And number 2 of Bioshock's often underestimated achievements is its use of audio logs. No need for scribbled notebooks, codex entries, or your mom's grocery list we have to sift through while the game is on hold. Instead, the story of Rapture and its inhabitants' checkered fate is conveyed through recordings that are easily accessed and re-listened to while exploring the city, or during combat, or while hacking a machine. And because they come with both a voice and a face attached, more than once Bioshock would make me feel for those who crafted these recordings, especially when I found out later how they eventually met their untimely demise. Regardless, Rapture isn't a mere graveyard. Each of its districts, which you can revisit at any point in time within the game, which is neat, is not only a carefully designed piece of Art Deco architecture, yeah, we can be fancy on this channel, but also an authentically lived-in part of Rapture's ecosystem. If you have a city under the sea, you will need air, energy, and entertainment, and each of Rapture's districts will have to represent and be represented by its inhabitants. At this point in time, it would be a fallacy of me not to have mentioned Sander Cohen in Fort Frolic. Anybody who played Bioshock will tell you unwarranted that his level was the highlight of the game and he is the GOAT. Well, at least he would be, if it weren't for one.
In the end, what separates a man from a slave?
The biggest reason why Bioshock's concurrent sequels failed to live up to its legacy might very well have been that no other antagonist was able to capture what Andrew Ryan brought to the table. An unsettling cocktail of madness, charisma, and utter dominance. And the cherry on top, one of the most memorable plot twists in video game history, not to mention him setting the trend of trauma-inducing golf club usage in video games.
Now that's the thing I'm sensitive about!
If you know a better example for a top-notch antagonist, feel free to post it in the comments. Till then, with Mr. Ryan at its helm and its immersive storytelling, its creative and streamlined weapon system, ingenious art direction, and paired with an incredible score and semi-realistic graphic style that at least in its remastered edition will stand the test of time, Bioshock not only holds up, but also makes me yearn for a simpler time, where a game's overall design elements could be united under one artistic vision, where purchasable skins and downloadable content were nowhere to be seen, and where those 3 little words were all I needed to hear to know that everything's gonna be okay. I was PlaySoloRaptor, and if I made you think or chuckle, would you kindly like, comment, or subscribe? And if you don't wanna, I'd never force you. After all,
A man chooses. A slave obeys.
would still be nice though.